G'day guys, welcome to GJBricks. Now today I'm going to do something a bit different. Recently I built the Lego Statue of Liberty architectural set 21042, I believe is the number. This, it's like a trophy, holding it up. Absolutely lovely set. Really enjoyed beginning to end building this, and I'll do a proper review of this. But today, what I'm going to do is actually combine this with a lighting kit from my friends over at GameofBricks. So they gave me a couple more sets to do the lights for. This was one of the ones I mentioned I had, and they were quite keen to show me this because they actually do it as like spotlights to really light up the whole thing, which I thought looked really cool. It lights inside all of these spaces down here and stuff like that. I'm going to show you some shots of this beauty lit up. I think it's going to look really fabulous. But before I do that, I will say, if you're new here, hit subscribe. I post regularly. Now let's go and light this thing up. Here's the finished model. I had planned to do a video showing you me putting the lighting into it, but didn't quite go to plan. It's a lot harder than I expected to put together. You have to kind of take this whole chunk off to put the lights in there. You have to take this whole chunk off to do the lights down the bottom because the cables feed through. This whole top section obviously comes off. Then you dismantle this whole piece to put cables in. It was not pretty, and I'll show you the cabling underneath in a minute to show you just how not pretty when I was putting it together. But I've got to say I did a pretty good job. I can only see 2 cables on this, 3 cables on this because I know where they all are, but I don't think you'll be able to see any of the cables that are on there. But let me know in the comments if you do. So as you can see, this looks absolutely spectacular lit up. This, I will say right now, exceeded my expectations. It really changes this model, and let me just show you it with the lights off and you can really see how much this changes it. Look at that. That is awesome. I love that there's a bit lit up down here. This whole top plinth is properly lit up, and Lady Liberty herself is lit up from all angles. It's not just a one-sided light, it's the whole thing. These spotlights do a fantastic job of lighting her up. Look at that. And then they put the one light at the top there which comes down from the top. I will say I changed the way this top light is put on because I wasn't happy, because in the instructions it says to use this like square pad, which was really visible. I actually just put a tiny blob of blue tack on the back and stuck it on. So it's not glued or anything like that. It's just a tiny piece of blue tack, and it looks much better when the lights are turned on. But you can see, just look how spectacular these up lights actually look and work on the model. You can adjust them if you want to make them light up slightly differently, make it slightly wider, but I've got the kind of more focused approach there. I like the way that looks. I like the way the shadows are falling on it, and it really does bring a whole new angle to this model. I can't believe how good this looks. I really can't. Like, I will say I liked the model a hell of a lot before I lit it up, and I think this lighting kit really does change it to a whole new level. So this is the GameofBricks lighting kit. The link is down in the footer if you're interested in buying it, as well as I've included the instructions link so you can see how it goes in. But really, it's amazing. So I will say, in terms of the installation, sort of out of 10, it's probably about a, it's 0 being really hard and painful and 10 being enjoyable, and that I'd say this is probably around a 7, because you have to take a lot of the model apart. You have to actually kind of feed the cables through, and also with all of this you have to remember where all the pieces came off. I did have a slight issue around the back where I took one piece off and another piece came off as well, and I couldn't remember how it went back together, so I had to refer to the original photos to fix it. But yeah, it was good. Now the challenge I had was that you end up with a large bundle of cables inside the thing, and as you start to feed them through, the more cables you have, the harder it gets to feed the cables, because these are like hair thin cables that the minute they catch on something, that's where they want to stay. So I ended up having to effectively weight the cables and drop them through. So I put 2 Lego bricks on each of the cables and dropped them through. So pinned it, dropped it, took the Lego off, and that was it. And then you have these boards that you put everything together. So let me just show you. And you can do one thing with this model. It is insanely strong, because there's a Technic pin. There's pins running the whole way through that connect the top of the model to the bottom of the model. It holds it all together. So there you go. There's a little snippet of how messy that cabling is inside there. It really is. You can see it's a mess, but there's 3 of these boards here, which is where the cables all plug into. So you daisy chain those together. Daisy chains where you connect one board to the next board to the next board, and then one cable comes off and connects to the battery pack. So at the moment everything is just gently shoved in there. There's a couple of cables. You can't see it because it lights too well. There you go. You can see there's a cable in there, for example. So these lights come up from the bottom, which is a shame, but there's no way to do it because they're big pieces behind there. So it's a pity, but it's not perfect. But you really wouldn't know unless you looked at it super close. And I don't think most people, once they've done it, would know it was there. So yeah, in terms of like how I think this looks as a finished model, I think it's excellent. I think, you know, this changes that sort of model that was a 8, 9 out of 10, because it was fun, to a 10 out of 10 model for me. I think this looks so good, so good. And in terms of value, this is $40 from GJBricks. As I said, the link's down below, and they actually have a voucher when you sign up that'll give you a discount, and you can get it for a little bit cheaper than that if you want to. So I really do think this is worth it. If you've got this set, it just changes it. It just changes it in a way that, you know, I don't want to light all my models, but I want ones like this to be lit like this, because I think it makes it so much better. So much better. So yeah, in terms of the experience of putting it in, it was fiddly. It did take me about 2 hours to do, I will say, because I've not done this many times. And you do have to do a lot of deconstruction on this model to do it. You have to take all these layers off to feed the cables through, to put the lights in. And then doing up here, it's actually, the Statue of Liberty bit is actually surprisingly easy, because you basically take off this whole side here and then feed the cables down. The only piece I had to change in this one was up here. You take there's a pin and a gold 1x1 stud, round stud in there. You take those 2 out and replace it with a Technic pin, and the cable feeds through. That's the only difference. It makes it ever so slightly weaker, but you would not know unless you're going to throw this thing around. And so the cables run round here, round here, round here, round here, and down. You can't even see it. There's a cable there, see, just tucked away there, and it goes back into the base and down through the middle. So there's hardly anything on the outside of this. So yeah, it doesn't have any impact on the aesthetics of the model other than making it look awesome from a lit up point of view. The cables are that small that you just cannot see them. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Is this something you agree with me on, the way this transforms this model? Let's just turn that light off again. The way this transforms that model is just worth every cent, every second it took to actually put that together. I personally am sold on lighting up more of my models. I'm not planning to do my city because it is a pain in the butt, but for this display models like this, absolutely, I think it's worthwhile. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. If you're new here, hit subscribe. I post regularly, and I'll give you a couple more videos to watch, including my downtown diner video that I did another GameofBricks lighting kit on. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon.